6 stitch purl decrease. This is a 6 stitch decrease that's worked when you have purl columns, brioche purl columns on each side of the decrease, on the wrong side of your fabric. So we're going to remove our stitch marker, bring our yarn forward, slip this stitch purlwise. Now we're going to purl the next 2 stitches, this one and then the second one with its shawl. We're going to purl them together. This is creating a brioche left cent decrease done on the purl side. Now we're going to pass that stitch over. See how it resolves the yarn placement? There we go. Now we're going to knit this stitch right here. And again, we want to pass this over. Okay, so now we have 3 more stitches to work with here. So we're going to yarn forward, slip this one purlwise, purl this stitch at the end of your needle, pass him over, and before we work with this stitch, we need to reorient which way his legs are so that he lays correctly on the reverse side of the fabric. So we're going to slip him knitwise and then replace him. Now the first leg is actually in the back instead of presenting in the front. Here, and pass that one over and come back to the center stitch. And now we're going to pass it over the center stitch. So now we've neatly decreased the 3 into here, and on the right side of the fabric, you'll see that you have your brioche knit columns coming up along the outside, ending centered over the center of the decrease. When you come to the next stitch that you're going to work after this, after you've finished this decrease, let's get him slipped over so he's technically done. Okay, now we remove our next marker from our work, and you want to slip one yarn over for this so we can knit the next one. Now we don't want to get this too tight, otherwise we're not going to have the space we have here. So when it's about right there, put your thumb on there and hold it while you slide. Then brioche knit your next. That way you still have your space, correct spacing right here. And now let's work over to the next decrease so that I can show you how to work it while holding the yarn in your right hand, or throwing, or English style, whichever one name you want to have for it. So we're going to work our way over here. Okay, so we've come up to the next marker. Let's remove the marker. Okay, so this last one's a slip one yarn over. Currently I'm holding my yarn in my left hand. Let's change it over to my right hand. Okay, so when you're throwing, to bring the yarn forward, you come around. I'm going to slip that first stitch, load the next 2 on. I'm going to work a purl stitch, and then the first one that you had slipped, we're going to pass it over the stitch you just created, yarn to the back, knit, pass this stitch over, second stitch over the first one closest to the needle tip that you just worked, yarn forward, and now we're going to slip one and purl one, pass the second stitch from the tip over the one you just worked, and then one more stitch we need to deal with, and this is the one that we want to reorient the way his legs are, so we're going to slip him off knitwise and then place him back on. Now that right leg is in the back. Place the stitch that you had just worked, slip it over. Now that center guy, what we've been stacking everyone up to, there you go. And then when you proceed throwing, again we want to watch our spacing, so you're going to slip him, have your yarn to the back, brioche knit, but keep it light. You want to make sure, kind of check that you have your spacing before you slide it off. Okay, and then you can proceed with slipping your next stitch. Oops, you can tell I don't throw very often. And brioche knitting your next stitch. That way your spacing is good. All right, all set.